How did the LA riots spark the creation of Operation Hope?
Rainbows after storms. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first, very much like what's going on in Baltimore right now. I felt guilty for not showing up in my own community, for doing well and driving by around the problem. I intellectually cared, but I didn't put my money where my mouth was, or my feet, or my hands where the problem was. And I was doing the very thing that I criticize others for doing, which is being radically indifferent. So I decided that you had to get involved, that it wasn't about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, it was about the Get It Done Party. It wasn't about being a PhD so much with being a PhD. And so we decided to do something and do something different, and to try to figure out what the core problem was. And I came to the conclusion, like Van Joe says, the best way to stop a bullet is a job, that there are a lot of problems. Most of these are, what we see are problems are really fuses. In other words, it's somebody ready to set off because they're unhappy. And I wanted to figure out unhappy about what. I decided that it was a lack of hope, a lack of self-esteem, a lack of confidence, a lack of belief, most of all, a lack of a job and economic opportunity. You take poverty and lack of opportunity away from this situation, and the fuse just falls away. Underneath every one of these problems is economics.
Perfect. Are there any similarities between the LA riots and the riots in Baltimore?
There are perfect similarities. There are 5 problems that you can see not only in the Rodney King riots, the Baltimore riots, the Ferguson riots, the riots in Paris, although culturally it's a little differently, but it was still black and brown people in the suburbs, what we call inner cities or suburbs in Paris. So number 1 was we never got the memo. So President Lincoln, 1865, created a bank to teach freed slaves about money after the Civil War. It's called the Freedmen's Bank. Unfortunately, Lincoln was killed 5 weeks later. Frederick Douglass tried to run the bank. He put $10,000 of his own money up, about $20 million today. The bank failed on his watch because the new president that came in gamed the bank and changed the charter. 73,000 black depositors, former slaves, lost almost every dime they had. No wonder we're allergic to banking and free enterprise and capitalism today. So we never got the memo. It's not like there was a memo on free enterprise and capitalism that was given to everybody who's black and brown and we screwed it up. We just never got the memo. That's why I wrote the book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism. Item number 2 is the only best-selling book in the world today, written by an African-American author. Item number 2 is there's no market economy, because we never got the memo. So at the center of these poor neighborhoods is poverty, and which is item number 3, which is no jobs, no opportunity means no hope. But there's no market economy. So I'm going to fast forward to item number 3, which is the most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope, which should be solved by the way of getting a job. And item number 3, I think item number 4, I'm doing this by memory, is depression. And when you have depression, misery works its way in. I think that 70% of black Americans are clinically undiagnosed depressed. I've never said this publicly to anybody, but I'm saying it through this medium with these 2 wonderful ladies who are helping me do this, who are brilliant, by the way. I think that 200 years of slavery and 100 years of Jim Crow that ended in our lifetime was enough to drive anybody crazy. And I think that most black people you run into, no matter whether they're wearing a suit and tie or their pants down to their knees, are depressed. And we never dealt with it directly, and we're ashamed of it. And I was lucky to have a mother who told me she loved me every day of my life. So I didn't have a self-esteem problem, but I think most people do. And when you don't feel good about yourself, it's hard to feel good about anything else. If I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'll make your life a living hell. You combine all of this, so depression, never got the memo, no market economy, no job, and no hope, and it is surprising it doesn't happen every day. So Baltimore, I'm not belittling the death. I'm not belittling the problem in Ferguson and the death. I'm not belittling the 55 deaths of the riots. I'm saying we're looking at the fuse, not the problem. I'm saying that we're looking at the cough, not the cold. I'm saying that we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic and getting angry and emotional when we need to really be trying to find some solutions. And so we think we have a solution, and we're going to put it on the ground in Ferguson. We're going to put it on the ground in Baltimore. We're going to put it on the ground in every community in this country and try to actually solve this problem.
Well, you answered that next question. What is Operation Hope's prescription for the problem?
Project 5117. If somebody came to me and said, we have unlimited money in Baltimore, what can we do to help? How can you got to guarantee us, John, that the problem will at least mediate. I would put every dime I have. I would back it with every dime I have. I put my whole net worth up and say, if you did Project 5117, you can just search it on the internet, by the way, of what 5117 is. You do 5117 every 4 square blocks in Baltimore. For 2 years, the whole thing will just mediate. It'll because middle class folks, or those who aspire to be middle class, don't want war, they want to go shopping.